The Immaculate Conception has nothing to do with the birth of Jesus Christ. Lack of relationship, nobody ever talks about with the family that surrounds Jesus. Do you claim that Mary remained a virgin after birth of Jesus? If you're a Catholic, you pretty much do. Why? I don't know. How could, after even one son, Jesus Christ, came through her birth canal, could Mary have maintained her virginity? Anybody ever think about it to that depth? There's no cesarean section mentioned. So she gave natural birth. I don't care what happened, she could no longer be a physical virgin. They even had a woman, just to emphasize this story, her name was Salome, and she was a midwife. And she actually put her fingers into Mary to test the virginity, and she said, yes, she's a virgin. This is before Jesus popped through. For Catholics to continue that she is a perpetual virgin for life, again, what do they expect us to swallow here? Now, here's a little bit deeper fact. If the Virgin Mary did maintain her virginity throughout her life, then Mary and Joseph were never legally married. They just shacked up. You ever thought of that? Ever heard that before? Why? Because under Jewish law, in fact under our laws, sex has to consummate a marriage for a marriage to be legal. Anybody disagree with that under Jewish law? That's the law under the Jewish law. So if Mary maintained her virginity for life, she was never legally married to Joseph, and they just shacked up. Has anybody ever heard an official call Jesus a thing? Yes, no? The angel Gabriel in Luke 1:26-35 told the Virgin Mary, you shall conceive a son, and you shall call Jesus, and he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever. House of Jacob is who? The Jews. Mary said to Gabriel, how can this be, seeing I know no man? Gabriel said, the Holy Ghost shall come upon you, therefore also that holy thing, that holy thing over the house of Jacob, the holy thing which shall be born of you shall be called the Son of God. My God, God's angel Gabriel called baby Jesus a holy thing. Folks, Luke chapter 1, 26-35. I ain't making this up. But you know, in my study, I've gone so deep in this research that things like this jump off the page to me. I have to include it, because who would ever call Jesus Christ a thing? And also he says he's going to be called the Son of God, and you'll call him Jesus. That blows away Isaiah 7:14 right there. It contradicts Emmanuel. Colossians 1:15-21, and he, Jesus, is the image of the invisible God. Listen to this. The firstborn of creation. Now Jesus, according to the angel, Jesus Christ is the firstborn of creation. What's that mean? Jesus was created. Gods don't get created. The biblical God just exists forever, right? But now Jesus is the firstborn of creation. He can't be God. So later on, when we try to make him God with the Trinity and all the other stuff, there's evidence that he can't be God, because now he's the firstborn of creation. The Trinity, one of my favorites, because this has got a real bite to it. The Trinity claims that God is Jesus, God, Jesus is the Holy Ghost, and the Holy Ghost is God. Trinity. Are all three one, one the same? Impossible, but that's what it's talking about. If Jesus is the Holy Ghost, then Jesus Christ impregnated his own mother Mary to produce himself. Remember, the angel Gabriel says the Holy Ghost is going to visit upon you and all this stuff. Jesus knocked up his own mom to produce himself, folks. If you must believe that Jesus Christ impregnated the Virgin Mary, his own mother, to believe in the Trinity, as angry as that might make you, you cannot have it both ways. If you're honest, there's no wiggle room. If Jesus Christ is truly the Holy Ghost, as documented by the Trinity, then it was Jesus Christ who actually impregnated his own mother Mary. More moral and legal controversy. Jesus Christ was conceived, guess what? Out of wedlock, because Joseph and Mary were not legally married when Jesus was conceived, because they hadn't had sex and they hadn't gone through the ceremony when he was conceived. Now that's against the law. What's the penalty for a woman getting impregnated out of marriage back in those days? Stoning. In fact, Joseph had a mind to put her away, and the biblical note says stoning was the way he was considering. He was going to have her stoned to death until he had a dream, and the dream said, take her as your wife. You ought to hear the Islam side of this. Oh, they have a side of this? Oh, yes. Surprise, surprise. It's only a matter of time before politicians, by the way, today will be boldly speaking against the Bible. Hillary Clinton right now is testing the waters. She actually recently said, deep-seated religious beliefs and structural biases have to be changed. Hillary is saying it already. Okay, you understand the Immaculate Conception. Check it up in any dictionary. Mary's Immaculate Conception was in the womb of her mother through sexual intercourse, and not to be confused with the indoctrination or the doctrine of virginal conception concerning her son, known as the virgin birth of Jesus. In Christian theology, Jesus Christ was born to Mary without prejudice to her virginity. She was still a virgin. Now consider this, again, coming back to the more modern day thinking, because we got some scientists in here. Doug is a scientist, a lot of scientists, okay? Okay. With no other human DNA contributed by modern science standards, Jesus must have been a clone of Mary. Why? There are 46 chromosomes, 23 from dad, 23 from mom. That's normal, right? But Mary produces a son. See, there's a lot of lizards and species of lizards and things that can have their offspring without sex. They're asexual. They just reproduce their own. And they're cloning their own. And they're females who are doing it. And guess what they're cloning? All females. All the lizard species are female. And they do procreate and go on. That exists today. That might be a surprise to some. Now, if Mary follows this model, she would have had a girl, first of all, because there's no Y chromosomes to make a male. But no, Jesus is supposed to come out of Mary with only 23 chromosomes. The Holy Ghost is obviously not human. It claims not to be human. God's not human. And you've got some big stretch of scientific imagination to buy into this stuff. Because Jesus has to be purely human to be a proper sacrifice. That's what God said. And that doesn't measure up in this case. By the way, a recent study shows that we don't have 100,000 genes as human beings. Guess how many genes we have? 20,500. Not that many compared to what we thought. Mary and Joseph were both Jewish. Jewish law requires a Jewish marriage be legal. Sexual intercourse must consummate the marriage. Logically, again, a woman can't remain a virgin as long as somebody came through her birth canal. And there is no mention of Jesus Christ being born Caesarean. But if Mary maintained a virgin, how did Jesus' brothers James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon, where did they come from? And you hear some real far out things. Sometimes the Catholics try to make excuses to keep her virginity, that Joseph was an older man and he brought the family with him. There's no mention of that in the Bible, folks. There's no mention of that in the Bible. There is an apocrypha written long after the Bible was even put together that claims that, oh, well, he was an old man and he brought family with him. Doesn't hold water, and it's something that's an afterthought. Luke 2:7 and John 2:12 shows that Jesus had brothers and sisters. The virgin birth is biblical absurdity. Faith, which is nonsense, apparently can be stretched to infinity. Why do mostly Catholics believe in Mary maintained virginity after Jesus was born? That blows me away. Talking to a strict Catholic, oh yes, she was virgin for life. How could it go through the birth canal? They have no answer. You've got them, but they'll slide and they'll slip, and God works in mysterious ways the whole nonsense route. C. Dennis McKenzie said or wrote, Christianity stands or falls upon the virgin birth and the resurrection. Those are the two things. If they didn't have it in Christianity, Christianity wouldn't stand at all. Matthew 12:14, Jesus prophesied, listen to this one. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Now, this is after he's coming off the cross. He's going into Arimathea's cave, his little burial thing. Question: how can Jesus Christ's burial on Good Friday afternoon and Jesus Christ's resurrection before daybreak on Easter Sunday qualify to be 3 days and 3 nights as prophesied by Jesus Christ himself? Now, let's catch up with Joseph, Mary, and baby Jesus. Again, in Matthew 1:19, Joseph was minded to put Mary away, stone her, kill her because of her condition. In the Catholic version, it says that Joseph at one point had decided to divorce Mary quietly. How can you divorce somebody you're not married to? There was no consummation of sex. There was not even a ritual that they talked about.